Stan Wainwright.
And we're here today to talk to you about the new versions of the Roland mills, the 51 and the 52.
And mostly the 52.
Yeah, mostly the 52 because I think 51's been around a little longer. But if we start with the 51, you'll see that the 52 is really more automated 51.
Yeah. Hey, before we start, Bob, I'd like to mention, I think this is the first time you and me have done a webinar in probably 2 years.
That could be.
Like, we've done our own individual a little bit, like yours on your own with Lucas, or I'm with, Michael in the last Forum Labs one, but this is the first one in a while.
Yeah, so, well, at any rate, we hope you all enjoy it, and let's get it rolling.
Yeah.
So for a starter here, let me find my mouse.
So just before Bob gets going, if you're watching this webinar, you probably see two screens. You can adjust the size of the screens, and we're going to be jumping back and forth between camera and PowerPoint. So this first part, we're going to go through a really quick PowerPoint with Bob, just overview on the product and everything else. Then we're going to go into the specifics of the mill and the software. So you're going to have to be scaling these windows up for these different segments. So I'll mention that before we get going here.
Okay, so here we go. So I just wanted to give a very brief history on Roland coming into dental. They were originally a company that manufactured keyboards in large printers, large 2D printers.
Yeah.
And they came into the dental field with what was the first very, very successful mill, which was the DWX-50. There was a 30 before that, but
especially 5-axis.
Yeah. So this was the first 5-axis mill with the tool changer, and it really, from 2011 to 2015, it actually became the standard in the industry. And at CAP, we created this video shortly after we got our first Roland mill. And if you can see here, it's to date, it's received over 22,000 views.
Yeah.
And in dental technology, that's really, this video went viral.
Yeah.
It's not millions, but in dental technology, it's much smaller than appealing to the general public.
Yeah.
So this is what our milling center looks like, and it's full of Roland DWX-50s. And in fact, this morning, I asked Jay to test out, to check out all the mills and see which one has been running the longest. And indeed, our oldest DWX-50 now has over 12,000 hours on it, which relates to over 38,000 units if you calculate based on 20 minutes per unit.
Wow.
So it's an amazing mill. The work coming off of this mill that's produced 38,000 units is just as good as the first disc we milled.
Yeah, and these older mills, the 50s, were wires, and I remember when they first came out, they got a lot of slack for being wires.
Right, but they just continue to work, and not to say that we haven't replaced the wires.
Oh, we've definitely done tensioning. I mean, the mill probably has been new spindle a couple times, ATC motor, wire tensioning, but that's pretty low dollars when you think about buying a full new mill.
It sure is.
And it's still running today. It's really a testament.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be, 6 years old? Really soon.
Yeah, well, it's 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you can see we do have a DWX-51 dry is the first one on the left, and then the rest of the 50s.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be adding and using the 52DC in there soon.
So just to give you some idea of monthly cost over 5 years, Sam, I calculated that a DWX-50 to add into your laboratory is about $685 a month over 5 years.
And that's just the milling machine. So that's a really good number, especially if you're looking to scale and you want to know, after you get the bundle with the cam and everything else, how much would it be to add a second or a third?
Sure.
That's a very important number.
Sure. So digging into this a little bit too, what's really nice is I just wanted to touch about the concept that I think that model-free production is really happening in a lot of laboratories. And the Roland mill works great, and in conjunction with the new 3-shape E-series scanners that are really designed around being able to scan impressions.
Yeah.
We now have solutions that for another $10,000 on top of the mill, they can get into an E-series printer. An E-series scanner from 3-shape.
Well, and you see this as a trend for intraoral scanners as well.
Definitely.
And then, not to get too sidetracked here, but the Forum Labs also gives a really attractive ROI for printing solid models for these workflows as well, opposed to pouring up, sectioning and everything else.
Sure. Yeah, so you can scan an impression, do your design, center it, have just a little 3-tooth quadrant to check your contacts, proximal contacts.
Cheap on material. The doctor feels a little bit more warm and fuzzy about it.
Yeah, and you may as well.
Yeah.
So moving on, it's a dry 5-axis mill. It tips to 30 degrees. And it's about 20 minutes to mill a unit, as we had said before. It's about the same speed as the original 50 model.
And the reason Bob's going over the 51D is really, this is really a 51D on one side, and it's the disc changer just added to it. So all the fundamentals and all the great things that were a part of the 51 are true on the 52DC.
Right.
Same components.
So beginning to take a closer look at the internal aspects of the mill, what we have here is they've increased from a 4-tool changer to a 10-tool changer. They've also gotten away from the complete circumferential disc holder, and it's now a C shape. And it's really easy to just slide a disc in. It comes with a torque driver, and you just tighten two screws until a torque driver slips on each side, and you know your disc is tightened perfectly.
Yeah, and note, remember that the holder and the tools change with the next segment.
Yeah, the next segment in the
52,
this holder changes a little bit. And they also added a neat little drawer underneath the mill as part of the mill that holds all the accessories, some extra tools, and calibration device. So it's pretty much everything is self-contained, and you know where it is, which is pretty nice. Now, another thing that's really nice is every time you buy another mill, you don't need to continually add more and more PCs. You know, you can run 4 mills on one PC. And the mill, different than the 50, what they added is they added a light setup, so you can be across the room from the mill and know if it's blue, your mill is operating, and it's operating perfectly. Red, which you hope you never see, it's errored out, and you've got a problem. Yellow, it's paused, and you can restart it. And a white light is just simply the mill is idled and ready for you to take your work out and put a new project in.
And actually, there's a way you can enter in the VPanel for the 51 and the 52DC to send you notifications through email, which if you're remote, especially on a disc changer like this, if you want to make sure you know something's going on, really nice.
Yeah. So what we decided to do is to create attractive bundles. So we're bundling together 3-shape, not 3-shape. We're bundling together the Roland 51D, some 3D cam, the new cam, which is Millbox, which we're now promoting, a powerful PC, a sintering furnace, a starter kit of zirconia with tools, and a dust collector. And one of the really neat things about Roland is I believe they're the only mill company in dental that starts out with a 2-year warranty and a single spindle replacement, you know, which you can replace for free within the 2-year period.
Many of the things that made the 50 successful are carried and even better in the 51 and the 52.
Yeah, we'll go over some of those here. There's a really low cost of ownership for the bundle. The bundle, so if you haven't milled before, if you just have a scanner, this would be appropriate. It's only $865 a month over 5 years. And some of the other nice features in the 50, if you needed a spindle replacement, you had to send the mill to cap. They redesigned the way the spindle gets replaced so that you can change the spindle very easily, which, you know, you order a spindle, we overnight it to you, and you replace it the next day and you're up and running.
And it's the same spindle for the 51 and the 52?
Right.
So if you have a couple of these machines, you don't have to inventory 2 parts.
Yeah, and the spindle change is also under $2,000, the cost.
Yeah, if you do it yourself.
Right. Yeah, and
that's almost like you could have one like on the shelf.
Right, and they're warranting it for 2,000 hours, and it's under $2,000. You know, but we've had spindles go 5,000 hours or more.
Yeah.
In fact, we've had spindles that actually never stopped working, but we noticed slight increases in chip rates, so we just replace it. You know, 5,000 hours, we've gotten our money's worth. We're getting a few extra chips, so let's put a new spindle in. So we expect, like the 50, that the 51D will become the standard in the industry. Another nice thing about it is a lot of mills today require a massive amount of very clean air. You know, we'd like to have clean air going into the Roland mill as well, but the air requirement, the volume is much, much lower in this mill.
Like
because
half.
The air is primarily used just to blow the debris clean and clear of the work interface.
Yeah, other milling machines, and especially other disc changing machines, are on pneumatics. So it's running these with actuators with compressed air. And so if anything happens to that air pressure, the mill will stop. It will air out. Whereas this mill, actually, before this webinar, I built some units without any air at all. I don't recommend it, It does just fine. In between, I made sure to open it up and vacuum it, but it's just to blow that material out of the way. And one last part I'll mention about this is in a pneumatic spindle, if you have water or oil in the line and it gets into that spindle, you're in some serious trouble. If you have water or oil, again, I don't recommend it, of course. Going through this, it's literally just a tube that goes through the mill and spits on the material. So, you might like dirty up some zirconia or wax, but it's certainly not going to ruin anything.
Right. Not only that, but the pneumatic spindles probably start at about $8,000 and go up from there.
Yeah.
There are no 2,000
No.
pneumatic spindles out there, so those spindle replacements are much, much more money.
And they're significant, it's a skilled labor, like most.
Yeah, I think also, really, Sam, one of the reasons that the roll and mill became the standard in the industry is because it's so easy to use. What's amazing about this, and we've discussed this with other mill manufacturers that have wanted us to distribute their product, is we could ship a roll and mill to a laboratory and do a 2-hour telephone training, and they're up and running. Generally, all the other mills need to be set up, need to be like balanced out, and there's a lot of work to do. There's a day or two work and then training, on-site training, whereas the Roland is just a real simple mill that gets you a great result, on a routine basis. The other really nice thing about the 51 is that it's actually less expensive than the 50. So they made improvements and they dropped the price, which is a very nice feature.
I remember when we first started selling it, the 50 without anything was 30 grand.
Right.
And the 51 without anything is 25.
Right. So it's $5,000 less. It's significant. So now we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the 52
Sure.
DC, and the DC is for disc changer. So it's really a 51, like Sam had said, behind Sam, and then just the disc changer has been added to the side. If you already have a 51, no, you cannot add a disc changer.
Yeah.
You have to order it all as one piece.
That's a good point, Bob. And actually, there's so much so, just one and the other, that the control boards are completely separate, and they actually have different software they update. So this side might get an update, and then this side might be completely different. So, they can improve the general this side without altering this side, and so forth and so on. So they can sort of separate.
Update.
Yeah, which is nice.
That's nice. I didn't know that. So what we have here is we have a disc changer that can hold 6 discs. You can put multiple different materials in there simultaneously. So on the slide here, we have some zirconia, we have wax, we have PMMA, and you can just load up whatever you need. And also what's really, really nice about this is laboratories that are now using pre-shaded discs, you can just put the discs into the mill at your convenience, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And while the mill is running, you can open this door, put in a new disc, take out a disc that, is finished, and start post-processing that. And it'll just go from one material to the other. It knows what's in each slot.
Yeah, and you assign the discs, the material for the holder name in the cam. So you can actually buy more of these. They're reasonably affordable. It comes with 6, but you could have a stack of these waiting. You have, let's just say it's actually A through Z. Let's just say you have F here, and that's my multi-layer zirconia that I prefer in A1. And then so when you're loading jobs, you pretty much segment out your work, and you put it in and you load the job, and it looks for it. Doesn't matter what slot it is at all. It has actually a barcode scanner on it, and it picks it up.
Yeah. An interesting thing about this also is that it's a 0-point clamping system, which actually gives us the ability to leave a disc in the holder, but remove it from the mill and do some work to it, and then put it back in the mill. And the mill knows exactly where that reference is. So this is really not that important in crown and bridge, but I think as we get into dentures and in denture production, if we're going in a milling route, 0 tolerance clamping, I think, will become important. So this mill will offer that for us. In addition, milling dentures is very time consuming, so to have the capability of milling through a weekend also is a great thing.
And overnight, absolutely. I think that's a good point, and you sort of can imagine some indication types for holding it in place.
Sure. Actually, what a 0-point clamping system means is that you can take the disc out and put this disc back in, and it's going to be within microns in the same position that it was in when it was last milled.
Yep.
So that's a really nice thing for us. On the bottom here, we'll see this in action in a little bit, but this is a disc change occurring.
Mm-hmm. It's all electric, like I mentioned, so there's no pneumatics.
Yes. So again, this is dry. It's milled zirconia, wax, PMMA, and then nanocomposite materials. And it actually comes with a holder. It holds, I believe, 6 Ceric blocks.
Yes,
I got 6 Ceric blocks, and it mills a crown, and then average about
Ceric mandrels, right?
Ceric mandrels, yeah.
The part that holds the 7.
Oh, it holds 7.
Yeah. So I think it's Dynamic, Lava Ultimate, all the indication types have been
right
down a little bit.
Yeah.
Who knows? Many more materials might be coming out in this form.
I know they are, for a fact. In addition, in the 52, they added an additional 5 tool holders, so it went from 10 to 15.
Yep.
So that gives you the ability to not worry when your tools are wearing out. The mill knows, and the mill can have a sister set of tools. So let's say your 2mm tool is worn out, and it's a Saturday at 1 p.m. It'll just know at 1 p.m. that tool's worn and go and take a brand new one from a different slot and start using that tool. It'll just continue on through Sunday until you come back in or until it runs out of work.
Yeah, you pretty much can set the hours that these tools can run. And this is important for you to be able to set it, because if you say get somebody else's tool or want to run it a little bit longer or a little bit less, you can set that. And I can show it to you in the VPanel and set these tools up correctly. And you can have, let's just say you're just doing all Pro Cut tools for wax products like night guards or dentures, perhaps. You can have 2 extra sets. So if it's 15 tools, you have your 5 there, and then you have 2 full extra sets, and it'll grab them as it needs it.
Sure, so that'll just go on and on. So indications, both of the mills, in fact, can mill the most complex geometries, which, from my perspective, a pearl bridge or an ISO bridge, with screw access holes and things like that, full arches.
And you briefly touched on it, Bob, but Millbox has the ability to do external 5-axis, which for mill nerds like myself and Bob, it's really, really exciting because it's a little bit smarter on the facial. And you can even, and I'll show you in the software, select areas that you wanted to look at a little bit more with the little paintbrush. So you can get the embrasures and a lot of the gingiva better just directly out of the mill.
Yeah, it's really about defining the CEJ of the teeth.
Yes.
Better.
Yep.
Like sometimes you'll see the teeth, you've designed them nicely, but when they come out of mills, they just kind of run down into the area that would be pink.
And this is true for the 51 as well. We're going to be having an upgrade program, some literature released about how if you do have a 51D, that's a couple years old, either up to date or not up to date with software, what it would be to get into Millbox. And I'll touch base a little bit more on that later.
Okay, great. So again, here are the materials, zirconia, PMA, composite, wax. You can put them all in the mill together. So the Roland package with the 52DC is actually, it's just a little over $1,000 a month for 5 years.
Right. So this is if you have the scanner, right?
Yeah, if you have a scanner, it includes everything. It's the dust collector, it's the cam, this mill, a powerful PC, a centric furnace, starter kit of zirconia and tools, and you're ready to rock and roll.
Credit depending, of course.
Yeah, and if you don't have a scanner and you want to add a scanner to this package,
it's not too much more.
It's not too much more because you can start with an E1 scanner. It's $10,000, and if you do that,
$11,000.
We're actually throwing in a Form 2 3D printer for free.
Yeah, if you get the full kit.
That's through August.
Yeah, and actually, we probably should do a different what's going on that promo because it's such a big deal.
I agree.
But stay tuned.
Yep. Okay, so the Roland, so it's low cost. Sam figured out that it costs about 75 cents per unit for ownership of this.
Yeah.
It's user replaceable spindle we talked about, remote installed, meaning we ship it to you, you install it. It's really take it out, put it on a solid level bench, plug it in, and we call you and get you going in about 2-hour training. The neat thing is that both Roland and Cap were mill-focused companies, so you're not dealing with companies that are trying to do everything. So, Roland is specialized in designing and building mills, and they do a great job.
Yeah. They don't even make the cam. All they make is the machine and the control software, which I think is important.
Sure, and I think that's how they became the industry standard. Again, low air requirements, and it's really easy to use. The 52 overnight milling, even weekend, you
Yeah.
You load it up. And if you're paying overtime for the 10 grand additional money, you could think about paying overtime for somebody to load your mill at night.
Yeah.
You could think
What's
about
10 grand, like 100 to 200 bucks a month?
Yeah, 200.
200 bucks a month more.
Roughly. It's roughly 200 bucks a month more.
So
if you're spending more than $50 a week on overtime or a night person,
which is pretty easy to do, right?
Yeah, really easy. It's just a couple of hours less. So there you go. Now, moving into Millbox, you're going to get a first-hand look at this, but some 3D and caps on, we're looking to upgrade all the existing customers in time to this new Millbox.
For a small upgrade.
Yeah, there's going to be a small upgrade charge, but it is really neat. Sam's going to show it to you. It gives us a whole bunch of things that we hadn't had, and it makes it smoother, easy to do.
Yeah.
See this.
And before we jump on, I'm sorry, Bob. If you bought a 51D from Cap or Zon and you have Sum 3 and it's up to date, so you're running 2017 version of Sum 3D, and you buy a 52 from us, we'll upgrade it to Millbox at no charge with the purchase.
That's a good deal. Okay, I think generally speaking, you're going to have fewer problems with this, so you'll be calling support less.
It's super easy.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And the thing is, Sum 3D does operate in the background, so you can always click back and go back to Sum 3D anytime you want.
Yeah, you have full access to Sum 3D. They're two separate programs. If you've got a complex job or want to get into the nitty-gritty, you can open it up like normal.
Sure. And it costs no more than Sum 3D. So you get the two packages.
Right. All new mills moving forward come with the Millbox version, which actually gives you both versions, and we'll be primarily training and supporting on Millbox because it's really like all the power, but you'll see. But it's really slick.
Yeah, you can see already that it takes into consideration shade for multi-layered discs, just as a hint.
Yeah.
So at any rate, I want to thank you for coming. We have a long way to go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a much closer look through a demo that Sam's going to provide you with.
So it's 11:26. We got about 20 or so more minutes. So let's go over.
I'll step out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, you can sit there, Bob. I'm going to go over the hardware really quick. As you saw in the PowerPoint, it's got the 6-disc holder. I'll show you. It's really quite easy. So it comes with this torque wrench. It's actually the same torque wrench that came with the 51 that clamps down. But it's really 4 screws. It does have a midline, which I'll show you in a second. And to put material into it, in and out, is really pretty easy. And what really impressed me, I'm probably a little too tall for the camera. What really impressed me about it is when this thing is tightened down, it really does not move. It's really solid. So here's the ring, and you actually can see there's a midline here. So if if you're making marks in your discs, pulling discs in and out, you want to match it up there. And actually, without this clamp on there, you can see it has a C, and that's always the direction you're loading it in. So C in like this. So we take it like that. And again, the open side is the same side where the little notch is. It's very, very important. Really simple. You just rotate it on. And just like if anybody is a car guy out there, when you tighten this down, don't tighten it down all the way and go cross pattern, which is important. Just like a tire in a car. And then once you're all the way around, your last one, you can with the torque wrench, so you just ramp it up and you go until it clicks. And this is ready to go. It's the F holder. And I'm actually going to take out the first slot, which this is not counted in the 6 holders you get, but this is the calibration block. So when it calibrates, it actually does a couple things. It touches the holder, it touches the tool holder, and it touches this. And this is actually hashtag. So hashtag. I'll put the F here, just like this. So the letter is right side up. You're going to be wanting to run on the plastic rails, not the metal. And that's it. I mean, it's really pretty easy to load. I actually have a job that I've already milled, but this is the C. And I'll just put it in there so maybe we can show it switching back and forth. Actually, it's going to run with this open, right, Jane? Mm-hmm. So I'll leave it open so you can see it. I'll put this aside. Before I get over to the computer, it actually, something that's unique about this mill that we didn't talk about, it does come with a brush tool. and there's an option in the CAM software where you can have it actually wipe and brush all the units before it puts it away, which they claim it removes about 90% of the debris. And again, if you have it going overnight or over the weekend and you have that extra maybe 5 to 10 minutes to do that, add it to the job, you know, less work for you guys to do. And it actually has its own tool slot for that brush, so it's not taking any of the 15. Same, the calibration pin does take 15, but you can always move that aside after it's calibrated. It comes with this, which actually is specifically for changing the spindle yourself. This is the collet tightening wrench. Collet tightening happens every 200 hours. You have to tighten the collet. Really, really simple. It's like a quarter turn. Do not over tighten collets. It's a big problem. It comes with one brush. It comes with extra collars for all the tools. It actually even has an extra holder down here if you need anything on the side. Comes with the tool measurement system that we've seen since the 50. Really easy to use. Really simple. All the air regulator and hosing. The last thing I'll mention is the air regulation is actually automatic on this mill. So this is a big concern when you're switching between materials. So if you're going from zirconia to PMMA, PMMA requires more air for two reasons. One is the material is, it kind of gets everywhere, so you want it to blow out of the way, you don't want it to get too hot, and it cools the tool. So it will automatically regulate that air pressure for you, which is nice. So let's go over to the computer here. I can shut this one. So let's start with the VPanel. So I've got a couple things I want to show you guys here. This is the new VPanel, and as actually you can see here, I've taken out slot 1. See how's that question mark there? And I've taken out slot 4, question mark. So I'm going to scan it. It doesn't want to scan. I don't think the door thing is working. Let me just see here. Oh, sorry. It's okay. So I'm just going to scan. So now all it's going to do is it's figuring out what holder is in what slot. Hopefully that's not too loud for everybody. Some other things, it's very much like the 51 in operation otherwise. So spindle run-in, the calibration, all that is pretty much the same in the options menu. This is Millbox. Let me just see here while it's doing that. This is Millbox. As you can see, the user interface is nice and simple. It's really pretty straightforward. There is some advanced features, but I'll go through a normal job and then maybe I'll get into some of the nitty-gritty. So on the right here, this is pretty much our workflow. On the left, this is some view changes, job management. So if you go here, this is some recent jobs. It actually gives you a nice little preview, which is really great. So if you want to open something up or check something, you can do that. Some tools. So this is like if you want to show the fixture. Let me just like, for example, show the fixture. Here's the notch on screen represented, which is nice. So you know where your units are going, either front or back, showing holes, cavities, so forth and so on. Going back to tools, you can change the shrinkage factor after it's been set, add stabilizers. Engraving can be done here. It can also be done unit specific. Print out reports. This has been a great feature of some 3D for years, but it's also available here. And then undo and redo, which is classic, you know, just computer functionality. Really, really basic and simple, which is nice. So I'm going to do a new job here, so I just clicked right here. So if you had multiple milling machines, you'd be able to select here other mills, but we just have the 52DC loaded in. You can also set different sets of tools. So let's just say you're using Ultra and Pro Cuts. For anybody who doesn't know, Ultra is for zirconia only, and wax is okay. Pro Cuts is for PMMA or plastics, acrylics specifically. So it actually tells you, like for example, it's saying in tool slot 1 through 3 are the Ultra tools. Use the 0.3 millimeter tool for carbide. And it's really plain and simple understanding exactly what you're using. And then what material we're going to be using today. So we've got an option of zirconia, PMMA, wax. We actually are using wax today to mill because I don't have air pressure running to the milling machine, like I mentioned. And it's okay with wax. It's not great, of course, but zirconia I wouldn't recommend at all. So let me just nest the job in zirconia because I want to show you what the multi-layer looks like. The fixture is set. There are some other options for other mills for different fixtures. Like for example, the V-Dynamic, it uses the pin holder. You can see here, you just select what fixture you want. Super straightforward, visual, which I really like. I love visual stuff because it makes it just easier to understand. So I'm just going to do a zirconia example here. You can click on the first molar here, and it's really straightforward. You can spin it around. You can understand the angle and the height of the unit. You can select multiple units if you'd like. So I'm just going to bring in 2 molars. These are full contour crowns, so that's all I click there, and I hit go. It brings the units in, and should take a couple seconds here. And then it automatically brings you to the next step. This is our blank selector now in Millbox. So we actually have just generic zirconia. You can actually make and name these zirconias anything you want if you're using multiple type zirconias, let's say Zerlux 16 or Katana or Alma-Gerbach, Dental Direct, so forth and so on. And the plus sign here is if you want to add a brand new disc with no units out of it. And then if you look here, these are jobs that I've already done. So let's just say I click on number 2. There's 2 jobs that I've nested. It shows the gray area is where it's milled. The green area is what I'm nesting now. So can it fit? Super easy, super nice, simple, visual. I like it. But I want to show you guys, I'm not going to mill it, but I want to show you guys what the multi looks like, because the multi, you can actually have the shade, and I'm going to actually nest. I've already nested a couple units, but I'm going to have it place it on a disc I've already used. So here it's like sort of giving you an estimate. Obviously, this is not what you have to do, but I'm going to hit go. Automatically nests it where it sort of showed you. And the really neat thing with Millbox is now you can see the layers. And this is actually, you can set this up custom, and I guarantee Cap is going to add its own sort of sets in there for Alma-Gerbach multi-layer, Katana multi-layer, and give you the transitional information so you can move these things up and down to where you need it. Super simple now. I'm sure you guys remember, if you're familiar with some 3D, to move things, you have to go into certain windows. Now you just click, and you find your arrow or your rotation, and you can move things. And rotating is no longer, I'm sure you all remember holding Alt or Control to rotate. Now it's just right mouse click like 3Shape or Exocad, and you can move things around. Spruing is so much easier. So let's just say we want to do these units right next to each other. So I'm going to hit home, so I get a nice, and again, a nice down view here. Again, since these units shouldn't be moving around, you can nest these things super close. This is one of the advantages of the fixture not moving. And if you notice, right when I got that close, you see there, unit to unit sprued automatically. I mean, this is a really great thing for material usage, just doing it automatically. And then we have other webinars and sort of the best practices for spruing. But more or less, I want to show you everybody here. This is just so easy to use. You click on a sprue, you hit delete, you can delete it. You left click it to move it around. Once you have it selected, you can select pin type if you want it cuttable, not cuttable, fully cut, the pin diameter and everything. And you can really just click these things and move wherever you want. It's really, really super simple, which is really nice. Something else that's really neat is when you grab a sprue now, do you see that white line that came up? That is showing you the midline of the crown. So it's really ideal to place the sprue right in the midline, right? You want it to be able to be cut from the bottom equally and the top. So you place it right there. This crown doesn't have so many undercuts, but if you did have undercuts now, I just double-clicked on the crown. You can set a custom offset. That's great if you have a divergent screw hole. You can engrave just by clicking this button. So I'll just put in, A1 Sam. Sam's my name, obviously. You rotate around. You can actually, you hold down Control and use the mouse wheel. It spins it. Shift, you do the scale. Click it in place. That's it. I'm going to double click on the crown again. You can rotate the crown if you have undercut issues, and this is actually where the 5-axis external comes in place. We've always had 5-axis on internal and screw axis holes, but but external means that the outside of the crown can actually have 5-axis too. You see that spot right there? It's actually indicating that it might have a hard time getting in there. This happens a lot on contacts when they get concave, where you're designing and cutting to a contact and all of a sudden it's concave, but it's hard for the mill to get in there. With this selector now, and using the strategy to actually use this information, it will go in there, spend an extra moment, and make sure it gets that external 5-axis milled out correctly, which is really, it's great. This is huge for iso bridges. Not so much on full contour crowns, but this is huge. So after you've got the sprue and everything in place, you can send the job right over to the milling machine, or you can save the tool path. I'm just going to hit Save Tool Path. It's already set at the A adapter, and if you were creating a new job, this is where you can click and select what adapter if it's a new disk, but it's set for A, so we're going to use A, and we hit Go. Simulation, it's asking me if I want to calculate the simulation. The simulation is where it virtually mills the crown for you. I'm just going to hit no. I just wanted to calculate the job. I'm not so worried about simulation. Simulation is very useful, and if anybody's used some 3D in the past, you know when you're doing full arch cases, you want to simulate the job before milling it, because that 25 millimeter disc, as everybody knows, is very expensive. So this is the last prompt before it takes over from here. This is really easy. Here's the brush tool. If you wanted to brush the unit before it's done, if you wanted to use 0.3 millimeter tool, really super simple. And here are your external undercut options. Really, there's automatic, and then there's manual, which is using that green paintbrush I just used. So you're selecting the areas that you want to focus on. Automatic is the program goes, okay, I have external geometries here. How do I get that milled out? I would probably say try both, see what works better, see what is faster, so forth and so on. But I'm not too concerned with external 5-axis since these are just single units. I'm going to use the 0.3 millimeter tool, and I'm going to use the brush tool. I'm going to mill this job overnight. I don't care if it takes an extra 10 minutes or whatever. So we hit OK, and it calculates the job. Going into mill while it's calculating, I'm going to go into the VPanel. Oh, it's just reminding me that, hey, you got to make sure these tools are here. So this tool right here, this 16 slot, is the brush. So here's the VPanel. Every VPanel for all the Rolands are different, actually. And if you look at the bottom of my toolbar, here's the one for the 50, the 51, the 4W, and the 52DC. It's very similar to the 51's VPanel. Just a couple slight changes. You can see here up on the top, there's these boxes for the different machines that you have running and the status. So let's just say you have two Roland 52DCs. You can see which ones are running by clicking back and forth. And you can even change the icon of the mill. So if you have multiple machines running and you wanted to give it an icon like your favorite sports team or ketchup and mustard or bacon and onions or whatever it is, you can do that. So you just make sure you understand which is which. Maybe put a sticker on the machine. This is where you just output the job once it's done calculating. This is for the tool management. And like I mentioned, you can set how many hours each tool are. So, for example, the Ultra Diamonds can go 50 to 80 hours approximately. If you want to be more conservative, more aggressive on that number, you can change it yourself. Also, you can put carbides in there. Those are good for, I think, 6 to 8 hours. And then you can also, this is where you set the sister tools. And there's going to be some more improvements on this, but let's just say you wanted to have your 1 through 3 as the sister tools. So let's just say you're doing a lot of PMMA or wax or zirconia. You can set 1 through 3 as your major tools that you're setting, and then it knows 3 over are going to be your sister or your daughter tools. So it's going to grab them as you see. So pretty easy to use, really straightforward and well thought out by Roland. Output file is super simple. You just grab your job, and actually this is a wax file. I'm just going to load it up. And so when you output it to the machine, so let's just say, for example, I have my wax going, and the calculation for this job is done now. And let's just say, okay, I want my wax job, and this can even be when the mill is milling. I want the wax job to be next. And when it's milling, you can open up the door, load things in, load them out. And so, okay, this is running now. Let me go back to the VPanel. I've got my next job ready to go. It lists out the jobs here, and I'm just going to add another one right to the back of it. So this is the one I just calculated here. I'm just going to open it. It's going to be my, let's just call it Roland multi-layer that I'm going to mill in this. We're going to output. So now we have our jobs. It knows what disks they're in because we set it in the cam. So actually, I think this was A and F. And it's grabbing the disk now. And it just takes over. So you can really set this thing up, have all 6 jobs running, and you're off and going. Let's see here. What else did I miss? How are we doing on time, Bob?
We are at 11:45.
So what is it, an hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to leave like 10 minutes for questions?
Yeah. There's a lot more to the Millbox. I think what we should do, though, is have a webinar dedicated to it, maybe some what's going on.
Suction.
Oh, suction needs to be running. Okay. The suction has to be running on these units. It actually has a sensor in the machine where if the suction isn't running, it won't run. So let's see here. So it's grabbing tools. Now while it's doing this, again, you have total access to over here. So if you've got a job that's done, you want to load up the next one, you're free to do that. And there it goes. So like, let's just say, for example, okay, I want to get this next job, finish it, pull it out, even, cut the units out, have another job that's going to go on the A1 disk, fire it back in there, have that job next to the list, and it's going to go. Pretty simple. Pretty easy. So, Bob, you want to come back in and show us, maybe, should we turn off the machine while it's, while we're doing punching and answers? Let's just pause it. And I'll sit here so I can show things that I need to. Okay, let's see here. All right.
So you can type in your questions.
Yes.
If you have questions, and we'll try to get to as many as we can.
Total tool now is 15. Okay. I heard that DWX-52DC can mill chrome, cobalt, sinter metal. Is that true? I think they've added it to the indication list, actually. And what anybody who doesn't know what that means is it's the pre-sintered version of chromium cobalt. So it's a soft version of it, and the restorations have to go out after milled into an argon gas sintered furnace, specifically.
Right. So really what happened with this material, it's a metal. It's a pre-sintered metal.
Come in a little bit, Bob.
That was a pre-sintered metal.
Yes.
The 50 design had everything exposed within the mill, so all the debris would get into the electronics and all over everything. And, Roland didn't know if it would work or not in the 50, so we took an old 50 and started milling it, and we did run into a problem with the electronics. But in this mill, if you take a look at it, they've created 2 separate compartments where in the back here we have an area where we have electronics, we have the spindle, we have the ball screws, which have replaced the wire cables that we were talking about before, and the electronics are tucked in the back as well. So,
And to answer the question specifically for brand, I'm not so sure it matters. I do know they behave a little bit differently in sintering. The formulas are a little bit different, but for cutting, I mean, it's a little unknown for us. We have some experience with the Millbox Syntron material. I mean, that's been really consistent with milling, actually. It cuts pretty easily and crisp.
It actually is a wax mill strategy.
Yeah.
It really doesn't wear tools at all.
No, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah. So I got another question. I touched base on why it's easier to nest units closer on this mill opposed to the 51. The reason is because it holds the disc and it doesn't let it go ever. So when you're taking that disc out and you got a couple units missing, you're confident that you can put that next unit right next to it in the program because the disc has not moved at all in the holder. Whereas the 51, every time you're pulling out the disc and putting in a new one, and you're using a line pretty much to guess as close as you can to where it is. So you always have that little bit of room of error. This is going to be a little bit easier.
Yeah, as long as you don't take the disc out of the holder.
Yes.
The disc goes into the mill in the exact same position to microns.
Yes.
To, I don't know how few, but really, really tight tolerances.
Does Millbox works for the 50 and the 51? It's definitely going to work for the 51. I would imagine it would work for the 50 with a little help from Sim Systems, Mike Webb.
No, I think it's going to.
Yeah.
Because I know we have a plan to help people convert.
Yeah.
So.
And our milling center, I think we should be using, and we still have 50s.
Yeah.
They're great mills. I mean, that's a testament to Roland.
Yeah, we showed you a picture. The milling center's full of them.
Yeah. So I'd expect it probably the 50. Just to be honest, the 50 is going to be the last one we convert. Right now, we're already rolled out with it on the 52. We're in the process of getting the 51 totally turnkey and on the dot, and then probably the 50 will be next. And the 4W's been using the Millbox since its inception. So is the CAM software integrated in the system now? No, it's two separate softwares. It can send directly to the mill, but otherwise you're outputting the PRN file or the calculation file, and you're putting it into the VPanel and controlling through there. So it's a little bit of shared work on both sides, but it is not fully integrated. This machine will work with other CAM if somebody prefers that. For us, we only sell and support some 3D and Millbox currently, but it is possible. It's actually a benefit too. Some people just like other cams. They want the flexibility. What happens if things change? You want the machine to still operate. I think that's a benefit to the mill, honestly. How does the SD card work on the DWX-52DC? It doesn't work on an SD card. The mill must have a computer connected to it to run it. I know there are some machines that you can, actually I've seen them mostly in printers, where it has a little flash drive slot and you'll have the job loaded on it. You put it in and it grabs it, but that's not true on here. It always needs computer running it. If you're not doing CAM on the computer, you can have a low-powered computer running these machines. That's what we do in our milling center. We do CAM and then control separate, but typically it's one computer doing everything, and it's a computer. Right. Will Millbox have the ability to mill interfaces?
No. No time soon, at least.
It has, well, some 3D's been able to, Millbox has been able to. It's not something that we're planning on supporting. I think the software has the capability of it, but it brings into question a lot of regulation worries. And then there's also the, once you start milling interfaces, it sort of opens up a little bit of a Pandora's box. But I'll say yes, no.
I'll say no.
Bob's going to say no. Seeing that there's an additional disc changer, how long does it take to calibrate the machine? It's actually a little bit longer. I did it myself yesterday and today with Jay Powers here. And, the 51 maybe takes under 10 minutes. This one's probably about 15.
But it's really once a week. You do it once a week, so it's 15 minutes once a week.
If that. I mean, once a week is probably the most frequent I hear.
Yeah. It probably makes sense like Monday morning.
Yeah.
Before you start a job.
And this is true with scanners, printers, and everything. Temperature is really important to machines. So if you have big fluctuations, 1 week it's hotter or colder, or anything like that, calibration is your friend. Because it gets these things out of whack a little bit. How much are the additional disc holders to buy? I don't know, but I think don't quote me on this, but I think they're only a couple $100. I could be wrong though. And again,
if you send that email question in to
yes,
email it to sales,
or maybe when we post this to YouTube, I can have the real price come up here as like some words.
Yeah, okay. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. And
but email us and we'll give you the exact price.
Touching on that, it comes with 6. It can potentially use 26 total. So you can buy 20 additional holders, potentially. Yeah, the same question, can you purchase additional adapters? Are the curves from milled units saved with the adapter or the stock? It is currently, it's the stock. It's the stock. Any other maintenance other than calibration? Yes, there is cleaning is important on these machines, both sides. And then collet tightening every 200 hours. And other than that, I mean, the belt that drives the spindle and from the motor wears out every 2,000 hours. But typically you'll get, spindles will typically go about 2,000 roughly hours. Some get more, some get less. And you get a new belt with the spindle anyway, so.
You always want to change the spindle.
Yeah, always change the spindle and belt if you're in there anyway. And like Bob said, you can get the spindle and the belt for under $2,000. Replace it yourself. 2,000 hours, that's 6,000 units. That works out to about 33 cents a unit. And when I gave my 75 cents a unit cost, let's just say you had to replace the collet or, I don't know.
The machine, depreciation on the machine.
Yeah, I always like to be a little conservative with my ROI anyway. Anyway, moving on. Calibration. Is the calibration process different? Well, the only thing different about it is you have to have that hashtag adapter in the machine when you calibrate. So that's the only thing different. It's automatic. Yeah, and it automatically finds it for you and all that. Where is the suction inside the machine? It's actually, you can't see it, but we have a little unit right next to the table. We typically sell the Quattro IVAC Twin. It's a great unit. It turns on and off with the machine automatically. There's plenty of suction for one machine. And the mill comes with the hosing and the adapters and that side thing that you're seeing.
Yeah, another nice thing about the suction setup is they've re-engineered the internal aspect of the mill to almost be like funnel shaped.
Yes.
And the bottom of the mill actually is not level, but it tips back towards the back of the mill. So debris kind of is driven towards the porthole for the dust collector.
Yeah, and it's got an ionizer. This is added in the 51. It was not in the 50. And what that does is it pretty much makes a material like PMMA, which is very staticky, not stick to everything. So that helps a lot.
Yeah, so the PMMA debris is more likely to get into the dust collector, less likely to be all over the glass, the walls, and everything else inside the mill.
Yeah, and I can imagine if you were cutting a lot of PMMA in this thing over the weekend, you come in the morning on Monday.
Yeah, it'll be covered.
You're like Christmas morning, open that thing up. How long does it take to do a collet tightening and spindle run? Jay, how long does it take to do collet tightening? A couple minutes? 10 minutes?
If that.
Spindle running, typically in this machine, has been taking like 20. And very important about spindle running, you do it once when you get the machine, and not again unless you don't use it for about a month. If you let it sit for a while, you want to warm it up and get it going again. But other than that, you never really need to do it.
Yeah, if it's just for like 3 days, you want to...
Yeah, okay, so Jay's saying 3 days.
VPanel will tell you when it needs to...
Oh, VPanel tells you. That's the simplicity of Roland.
The 51 and the 52.
Yeah.
It doesn't do it for the 50.
It doesn't do it in the 50. So 51, 52 will tell you. James Babby, thank you. The additional disc holders are MSRP of $249.95.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, James.
Hey, I'm glad you logged in, James.
$250. That's great.
Yeah.
So you can add, 6 more for pretty...
1,500.
And just for example, a mill manufacturer I won't name that used to have a disc changer, not VHF, sold their additional holders for, I think it was $1,200.
Yeah. Some of these get very expensive.
So it's very reasonable in the scheme of things.
Right.
It seems like 250 weeks. What's the longest lifespan of a spindle you've ever seen on a DWX-50 or 51? 6?
6,000 hours.
Jay Powers is saying 6,000 hours, and I believe it. I think our milling center mill went like 47, and then we had one going.
That was one of ours.
Oh, one of ours is 6,000 hours. That's 3 times the life expected. That's impressive. And
that represents 18,000 units for a $2,000 spindle.
And our milling center, as pro or semi-pro as we are, does not take care of milling machines. I mean, we really just run and gun these things, and that's impressive.
But don't you do that?
No. Clean. Do we have to calibrate on a regular basis, or just whenever something goes wrong? Yeah, every week or two. I think it's good to get into a rotation, maybe when to fully clean the mill, maybe at the end of the week, and when you come in, calibrate. I mean, I think that's a pretty good pattern. Always do a little cleaning in between, but
I would recommend cleaning it like every day.
Every day,
Yeah.
maybe take a couple minutes.
Yeah.
It's really not hard to clean.
Especially the 51 and the 52.
Yeah.
Is there anything done differently to achieve higher lifespan on the spindle?
Not really.
Not really. I mean, I will tell you.
If you think about it, we're somewhere in the range of 30 cents or less per unit.
Yeah.
And
I mean, even if it only gets half the life, you're still talking about 50 to 65 cents a
you
unit.
have the warranty for 2,000 hours, right?
Well, the spindle,
Just the first one?
It's just the first one.
Okay.
So it doesn't give you set hours. So if that spindle in the first 2 years goes 1,500 hours, they're going to replace it. If it goes 2,500 hours in the first 2 years, they'll replace it. It's usually a no-fault sort of situation in that first warranty spindle in the first 2 years. I'll tell you one thing that will really help spindle last is it not crashing. So just like selecting the right height of materials, the right material, double check your work. That's the biggest thing I've ever seen with these machines is somebody puts in an 18 millimeter disc and they set it up for a 12. So that's like 4 or 6 millimeters of material it's not expecting.
And it just crashes.
So
It just digs right.
it just digs. And you don't even know, it just sounds a little different. And that spindle is working so hard in those situations. And then the worst thing is sometimes you don't really know it and you don't really connect the dots. Oh, my spindle only lasted 1,200 hours. What happened? Well, back 3 months ago, you didn't even realize it.
You crashed it.
That just happens. I mean, it's these things are really super simple to run and really hard to make a mistake, but you can still make mistakes. Correct material, correct tool usage, and correct material height.
Yeah, you don't want to get diamond tools into wax or PMMA.
Well, yeah, diamond tools and PMMA will kill the tool.
Right.
Those things are expensive.
Right.
Diamonds are okay with wax. Pro cuts are good too. Carbides are good with wax. Wax is really anything. Yeah, you don't want to be putting in the wrong tool size. I've seen that. So you put a 2 millimeter tool in the 1 millimeter slot. So it thinks it's doing fine detail work, but it's actually a 2 millimeter tool that's twice the size. So it's cutting much more than it expects. Just all that sort of common sense stuff. Is it true that I can load different shades of zirconia and manage 6 different shades or translucencies at a time? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think those sort of workflows and best practices we're going to be learning and getting out to the industry as we use it, as customers grow with it, since it is such a new machine. But all the tools are in place. I think with some basic rules and maybe even setting some standard shades to standard adapters will go a long way. And training.
I can actually expand on this a little bit because I happen to like the Mine Gerbex All at FX Multi. In each multi-disc, you can put 2 shades in. If you nest high in an A2 disc, you get an A2. If you nest it lower, you get an A3. Yeah. So in reality, you can have 12 different shades of that particular product in the mill all at once, which is pretty neat.
It is.
So it's an 8-disc system that facilitates all 16 shades.
Right. Right.
But definitely, I love the tool changer for people that are using a pre-shaded disc or a shaded disc.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of I have a lot of one-person labs, and they want to spend less time at the lab. I mean, I could imagine this just doing all that pre-shade work overnight. Just less time.
Yeah, do your designing and cam and go home.
Right. Right. Just let it rip.
Yeah.
And you come in the morning, you do your sintering cycle, you finish them.
Yes.
So I think that's it on the questions. Let me just check one more time.
Okay.
Well, thank you everybody for writing questions. Actually, I think that really expanded on this a lot, so thank you. I'm going to push so we have more webinars and content on Millbox. I think this program is so simple and easy. It's great. Yeah, and any other recommendations on what we should do? If you want to see me more of me and Bob here on any topic, let us know. We're willing to do it for you guys.
Yeah, interestingly, we're always looking for topics.
Yeah.
But we felt this was the perfect one for today. And thanks for joining us. I know it's a beautiful summer day up here in New England, and I hope it's nice where you are, and we appreciate your time.
Yeah, and we're going to be posting this on YouTube. If you missed any of it or had to leave or anything like that, we'll have it up on our YouTube.
Yep. So thanks for logging in and sharing this webinar with us.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. So long.